G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to the Rundown Under with Mags, and the final Rundown Under and the final video of 2019 for the channel. If you're watching this at the moment of release, it should be around 12 hours my time until the start of 2020, so I hope everybody's getting their preparations for New Year's on at the moment and everything is going well. So, first things first, before I get too in-depth with this video, I just want to apologise for the little bit of background noise that you are probably going to have the whole way through this video. It is currently 42 bloody degrees on this end with an expected top of about 45. So I've got fans running, and I would normally, before doing a video like this, I would seal my office off against the rest of the house. Unfortunately, that means that I would be sealing my office off against the air conditioner, and it's 40 degrees, over 40 degrees. I'm not sealing this office off against an air conditioner, not a chance in hell. I'm pretty sure everybody will be able to survive with a little bit of background noise. I'll do what I can to clean it up, but yeah, it's going to be there. Anyways, so, Rundown Under, last video of 2019. What I want to do in this video is just do a quick brief breakdown of the channel over the last year, and it's actually going to be sort of a breakdown of the channel over the last couple of years. Explain what's been going on channel-wise and personal life, and basically go over to what's going to change with the channel going into 2020, because there is going to be quite a large number of changes. I'm sure you've noticed, if you watch a bit of YouTube, most of the content creators around, if anybody's going to be making any major changes to their channel, it's going to be major changes to the channel this year, the 2019 to 2020 changeover, because YouTube has managed to fuck up so much of YouTube over the last 12 months, and with Coppa coming into effect as of 1st of January 2020, everything needs to be restructured at this point, and it's actually a perfect time for me to restructure, because as most of you should know at this point in time, I have been back to school. I'm actually doing a degree in graphic design, and 2020 is my last year. It's my 4th year in it. I've actually been back at school for 4 years. Not a lot of people seem to realise this. The first year, I really didn't mention it much at all to anybody. It felt really odd to sort of mention. I mean, I am in my mid-30s, so I'm going back to school as a mature age student, and it was a bit odd to actually have that conversation with anybody, but I did the first year. Second year, a few people on Discord was mentioned. It wasn't really until the third year, which was this year, 2019, that I really started talking about it and showing some of the results of what's been going on there with my final year doing this degree being 2020. Now, the state of the channel over 2019 is actually very heavily involved with this, because 2019, the channel has been very stagnant, essentially. I haven't really done much in the way of content changes. Introduced a couple of RPGs, which is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, which has actually turned into the Kingdom Come Deliverance series, which is currently, as of the one that you would have watched yesterday, in its 40th episode. And I've never played through the game before, so I don't actually know how far I am off the end of it, but looking at the DLC content that I haven't even touched yet, I would say that I've got a fairly decent amount still to cover. If anything, I've probably got another 40 episodes easy that I could make on this before I tidy it all up. And like, it comes from the last episode. I finally did some treasure hunting, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a mechanic that I've never done in the game before. And at this point, I'm nearly 200 hours into this playthrough, and I'm 40 episodes on YouTube into it as well, and I've never done treasure hunting. Like, there's still mechanics and still features and still things in the game that I'm running into that I've just never done before, it's fantastic. The amount of content in this game is ridiculous, but yeah, it's definitely one of the successes, although view-wise it hasn't gotten many. I'm not entirely sure why. It could be that KCD, well, it is 2018 release, so it's nearly 2 years old at the point of this video. And it could be just that not many people are searching it up anymore. It could be that there's just a popularity drop in the area. It could be I've just done a really shitty job of advertising the fact that I'm doing a long, full-on Let's Play series of KCD. Go figure. I don't know why, but Regardless, I've been continuing that one regardless of the views because it's just been so fun to make, and I fully intend on completing that one. That's going to be completed through to the end. A few others haven't managed to make it to the end this year. I've tried a couple of times to get a career mode running for IL-2 that was interesting to watch, and honestly, it's the random mission generator is what's killing me on that one. The most recent one in the P38, I've actually played through 7 more missions on top of that, and they're all exactly what you've already seen, bombing exactly the same area, on exactly the same flight path, with exactly the same returns. On those ones that I've played that you haven't seen yet, there's actually only 2 of them that I have air-to-air encounters in, and one, the enemy planes just shoot down 2 of my wingmen and disappear. One, I get a couple more kills in, and that's about it. Like, it's really stagnant. And if you've watched the ones that I've uploaded right now, well, you know how about the next 6 or 7 episodes would go once they're uploaded. And I've got to look at this from a content creation standpoint, and they're boring. I enjoyed playing them, but from a content creation standpoint, you want a bit of variance and a bit of interesting stuff to happen, and unfortunately, it's the same episode to episode to episode to episode, and I'm wondering exactly how I'm going to make that interesting. And that's sort of why it's paused at the moment. I'm wondering whether or not I should just play through a few more until something actually interesting happens, and instead of doing a mission by mission by mission breakdown of the entire campaign, maybe I should essentially have a highlights reel of the most interesting points that occurred on each mission. I don't know. I've got to work something else out there. Although, with what's going to change in 2020, it may be a moot point. Anyways, getting back to the main channel. Outside of the RPG changes, there hasn't really been a huge change in content in 2019, and there wasn't a huge content change in 2018. That stagnant level that I mentioned before has basically been the status quo for the entire channel. And the reason comes down to time. Making major changes or doing really in-depth and detailed content takes time, and because I've been trying to do as best as I can daily releases, my target has been about 5 videos a week. Haven't always hit it, sometimes I've been caught up with other stuff, but for the most part I think I've been pretty close to that for the entirety of the year. 7 videos a week, if I can, was obviously the primary goal, but 5 was my target. The major issue is that I've kind of been unhappy with a lot of the content that I've been releasing, because I've been trying to keep to this schedule of releasing 5 videos a week as the target goal. But I've had so much else going on in my life. I'm not just a single guy doing stuff on YouTube. I've got 3 kids. I've got a missus who's very outdoorsy and likes to go out and do things and go places. I'm doing a graphics design degree, which is chewing up huge amounts of time. Like, graphic design, I love it, and it's one of my biggest regrets that I didn't do this straight out of high school. It's exactly what I should have done, and I'm kicking myself more than ever now. But that's a whole other thing to go into. But the long and short of it, it is very time consuming to do some of the stuff. One of the projects, just to give you an example, for this year for the course, and something I really enjoyed doing and want to do more of, particularly from my own design standpoint, is gradient mesh. Now, gradient meshing is a process by which you take a image or a design, it doesn't matter whether or not it's a paper sketch or whether or not it's an actual photograph of something, and you convert it using a meshing technique into a photorealistic vector image that can be rescaled to any size. It's incredibly detailed. It can have incredibly detailed reflections on it. Because it's a vector, it has no pixels, and it has an infinite level of scalability. So you can, like, say you did a gradient mesh car, you have that car on a business card, or you can use that exact same image without losing any quality whatsoever and put it on a 40-foot billboard. It's heavily used in advertising, which is obviously a major thing that is covered inside of a graphic design course, because that's the bread and butter of the graphic design industry is advertising. And it's incredible to do. Like, the detail you can put into them is fantastic. To do one right, however, it also can take up to 40, sometimes 50 hours on a single image. And not the complete image, that's just, say, a vehicle within the image. If you want to do a background or anything else within the image, that's additional time on top of that. It's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of essentially visual editing in order to get them to work perfectly. The end result can be incredibly amazing, but it's very, very time intensive. So when I was doing the projects where I had to do several of these, a couple of them I weren't happy with because I had to cut corners on them because I was trying to do video releases on the channel at the same time, so they didn't turn out as well. The final one that I presented, I ended up doing a Tesla. It came out really well, but that week I think I fell behind on the video releases and was in a panic mode trying to get additional video releases out the following week because I didn't get them in the previous week. You can see where the problem's starting to go, and I was either letting the quality of my work in my course slide, which is something they definitely shouldn't be doing, or I was letting the quality of the videos slide heavily because I was trying to constantly release new videos, and I was reaching the point where there were videos that I was releasing that it was just get it done and move on. Wasn't putting a whole lot of care into them, and I hate that. I really, really don't like that. I don't like that. I never used to run the channel like that. And I don't like the fact that I was running the channel like that through parts of 2019, and even parts to the end of 2018 as well. So, that needs to change. And essentially the only way that I'm going to be able to change that going into 2020 is to find more time. The other thing that I've been skimping on to try and keep the quality up in the videos and keep the quality up in my work, in the parts of 2019 where this was going, and this is actually an important thing and the thing that I have to change in 2020 as well, is, as I said, something has to give in order to free up time. Well, the times where I was keeping quality up in the channel and keeping quality up in my work, it was because I was only getting 3 to 5 hours sleep a night. In fact, that's been true for most of this year, and my body has been essentially destroyed because of it. So I really need to concern myself with my health going into 2020. I am in a really bad place physically at this point, so I really need to do something about that. And the other area that I have been sacrificing is time with my family. It is not uncommon for me to, when I'm in the sort of the peak of the school sort of an area, I'm going in the morning to class, because I do actually go to class. I'm not doing this by correspondence. I go in, spend the day doing the classwork, come home, spend hours recording video content, editing the video together till 9 o'clock at night, somewhere in the middle having dinner with my family, which I might only schedule in, and I do schedule in half an hour because I'm in a rush, with maybe only a very short amount of time actually spent with the kids before they go to bed, and with the missus before she goes to bed. Video out and uploading by about 10 o'clock, and then I'm working through to 2 or 3 in the morning, working on the design projects for the stuff before I go into class the next day, and I'm in there by 9. And that was a fairly common routine that I would get into through the majority of this year. That needs to stop. I can't sacrifice time with my family anymore, and I can't sacrifice my health anymore going into 2020. So those two options, I'm taking them off the table completely. They have to go. That's not going to be a thing next year. End of discussion. So if they're off the table, I need to find another way of making time. I don't want to sacrifice quality of the videos. I in fact want to improve the quality of the videos that I'm releasing, significantly so. I also want to have more time to work on my designs. So where am I going to find the gap? Well, what I'm going to be doing going into 2020 is I'm not going to be doing daily releases anymore. I'm not trying to chase daily releases anymore. I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm essentially going to schedule 2 videos a week. That'll be it. That'll be the only videos that I guarantee on this channel for the entirety of 2020 will be 2 videos per week, and they will be different content to what I've normally been doing. I have been doing other stuff on YouTube, experimenting with the algorithm, and paying a lot of attention to a lot of the content creators that have been on YouTube through the year that have been doing some serious analysis of YouTube, its algorithm, and its systems, and how it's actually been operating. And I've been watching this really closely because I've wanted to do an historical series for a very long time. Now, I tried to start up an historical series at the start of 2019. at the end of 2018, start of 2019, because I thought this would be a fantastic idea, and I've still wanted to do it. The problem that I ran into first was that all videos that I have ever released on this channel for historical content have been demonetized. That's a problem, because YouTube is still, for the moment, my primary income, although I'm hoping by the end of 2020 it won't be. I'm actually sort of hoping by mid-2020 it won't be, but we'll see how things go. But I'll come to that in a little bit. And I know it's a bit, content creators shouldn't talk about money, blah, blah, blah. I don't make enough. I don't make much on YouTube. I don't care about talking about it either. I make below standard living wage in Australia on YouTube. I make fuck all. But the money that I do make is money that I wouldn't have been able to make otherwise. Due to my disability, I'm essentially unemployable. So my option has always been, since I sort of found myself in a situation where I could make money on YouTube, was either make money on YouTube or go on a disability pension and rot. And I've always chose the one that actually has me making money and trying to pay my own way, because I do not want to sit on basically the welfare system in Australia, rotting away, unable to do anything and hating my life. And probably, to be perfectly honest, if YouTube hadn't come along, I probably would be a statistic by now, because I can't stand the idea of having to live that way. And if I had been forced into it, and it was very likely in 2016 that I was going to be forced into that, essentially sitting on the welfare system and being unable to do anything else about it, I doubt seriously that I would have been able to make it. So in a way, as much as I hate on YouTube all the time, YouTube has probably saved me in many ways, and has put me into a position where I've been able to go out and do this course now and actually do something that I've wanted to do for my entire life, and meet some great people along the way. So I can't hate on it that much, but it is unreliable. But anyways, we're getting off topic a little bit here. Historical videos. The first thing that was happening was the historical videos were all being demonetized. Every single video that I've ever released was marked as an historical video, regardless of what it was, including my Emu War video that I released, which everyone seemed to like and found quite funny. All demonetized. Every single one of them. However, remember all the War Thunder videos I used to do back in the day, and I had a whole War Thunder videos there for a while, where every single one that I released was, it had a War Thunder battle happening in it that lasted around 20 minutes. Sorry, hiccup there. But the entire video was me talking about the history of the aircraft that I was flying. I barely addressed the battle at any point. I actually did quite a lot of these towards the end of my War Thunder coverage, because I was quite honestly sick and tired of covering War Thunder, so talking about the planes and talking about my interest in history was far more interesting to do. Not a single one of those has ever been demonetized. Ever. Looking at the algorithm and the way it operates, both my own poking and prodding of it and other channels poking and prodding of it, it seems to be keywords, presentation, and categories are the things that that tends to trigger the demonetization. But it's more than that as well, because another thing I notice is whenever I release those historical videos, what happened, and this was the main reason, at the start of 2019, I was pretty happy to handle the demonetization and basically drop the pan for Patreon down in front of everybody and say, look, these videos are being demonetized. If you'd like me to make more and you're really enjoying them, if you just donate to me on Patreon, that will cover the cost of doing these videos and everything will be perfectly fine. And people did start doing that, but I still cancelled the historical series. And the reason is because I was looking at other things that were happening to the channel at the same time. And every time I released an historical video, what was happening was I was suddenly getting a burst in the comments and getting a burst in messages of people complaining that the videos that I was releasing around that time, within a week or a couple of weeks of dropping an historical video, weren't getting notifications of any of my other videos that were being released. And I was uploading about 5 a week, and they just weren't getting notifications for them. I was also seeing a drop in views across all of those videos. They were down by roughly 20%. Now, it could have been a bad month, but it happened every single time I tried to do a video. It was historical. And I did a couple of tests during the middle of the year, where I marked a couple of the videos that I was releasing that were actually just gameplay. I think one was an IL-2 video, I think one was a DCS, or a couple of them were DCS videos as well. So they weren't historical at all, but I marked them in the keyword tags and in the game, the listed game and the categories for the video as being historical videos. And I noticed exactly the same thing. Around those periods, people stopped getting notifications of videos that were released around that time, and the general viewership across the entire channel suddenly dipped. And you can see it in the statistics. YouTube's not just demonetizing some historical videos, it's actually suppressing the channels whenever anything like that pops up because it doesn't like them, and not notifying subscribers of other content released on those channels because, you know, it's releasing something that YouTube doesn't like. So, I'm going to try this again going into 2020. It's going to be one of the 2 videos that I'm going to release per week going into 2020. And my alarm's going off here at the moment. I apologize for this. It's actually my warning to tell me that one of my other videos is about to go live. Obviously, I'm recording this a little bit ahead of time. It's going to be released on Christmas Eve at lunchtime, but I'm recording this a couple of days earlier. Actually, talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance before, that was actually the alert for the Kingdom Come Deliverance video being about to go live. It'll go live in half an hour of this. So now you know exactly when I'm recording. But anyways, I'm going to try and do this again in 2020. However, after spending the last year sort of researching around it, I've got a fair idea now what keywords YouTube doesn't like, what tends to trigger it off into doing that kind of suppression, what things I can use and cannot use in the titles, and in the thumbnails as well, in order to be able to... Well, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to bypass all of YouTube's basically censorship algorithms, but I should be able to get it to the point where the worst that could happen is perhaps a demonetization. And I'm hoping that the merchandise that I'm doing now, the merch store, and once again Patreon, will be enough to actually sort of counteract that and still make it viable to do. So with only doing 52 videos a year on this one area and being able to focus 100% on that topic, that means I can up the quality on those videos. Topic length, I'm basically thinking somewhere around 15 to 30 minutes for most videos, but that won't be the maximum length for them. That'll be sort of the target area for the most of the topics that I want to cover. But I've actually got a list of topics in front of me at the moment, and some of them that I'm looking at and have been looking at for a while. These are straight up going to take multiple videos, and some of these may be up to an hour long in order to be able to have enough time. Like, there's one particular one in here that is going to be a big one that I've already actually done a lot of work on, that to cover this particular subject, I don't want to spoil what it is, but to cover this particular subject, it's going to take me 3 one-hour videos at an absolute minimum in order to be able to get this. Possibly more. I may even need a 4th one. It'll depend on how it comes out in editing. But it's a big topic, but should be an incredibly interesting one for everybody, and something to that I think everybody will be excited about once they hear the first, or at least the first parts of the first episode. So some of these will be longer. The target for the majority of the videos, as I said, will be around 15 to 30 minutes. And I want to make them, I want to really tighten up the editing. I want to get them looking pretty sharp. I want to, well, at least within the boundaries of what I'm able to do, because the algorithm does sort of look through videos, so I've got to be careful about what imagery I use and how I cover certain things. I've got to be really careful of audio content, music in particular. For obvious reasons, because the YouTube detection bots for copyright music are going nuts at the moment on some of the stuff that they're detecting. I mean, people have been getting hit for humming songs in videos again, which is ridiculous, but that's been happening. and I'm looking for some pretty obscure topics for the stuff as well. Like the very first one I'm probably going to do is actually the story of a World War I submarine, and it's one that I don't think most people would have heard of, but it's actually a really fantastic story and something that I was actually unaware of until not that long ago. So that's where I'm sort of going with this, and the sort of the target area that I'm going to have, and I want to really make these some really nice, really high quality videos overall. I may even use some live camera in them. I haven't made that decision yet. But that's going to be one set of the videos. Now the second video per week, I'm actually going to do lore videos for fantasy science fiction worlds. And this is actually a spin-off of something that's been happening on Discord. I've been sort of watching the conversations that I've been having with people over the course of the last year and even the last couple of years. And some of the most interesting ones I've had has been sitting down with people that are in various fandoms on my Discord, because I have a fairly wide range of interests on my Discord. It's kind of fantastic. And discussing with people the particular events or the particular details of particular universes. Some of them universes of games, some of them television universes, some of them book universes. For example, things like the Battletech universe, Warhammer 40k, Star Wars pops up. There's an entire channel dedicated to Star Wars on my Discord. Yes, most of us hate the new movies. No, I'm not going to go into that right now because I could do an hour-long rant on that. Let's just not. But yeah, so mostly discussion of the expanded universe, which Disney went and deleted off, and I can't get into that again because I'll start another rant. But yeah, I'm a big fan of world building in fantasy universes, and I've got a lot of ones that might interest people that I'm actually interested in. There's a lot of universes that have terrible stories in them that have fantastic world building. Also, a lot of universes that have fantastic stories and terrible world building. But I want to do some discussions of the lore of some of these interesting universes, because it's something that I'm really interested in. It is a place that I look to regularly when I'm looking for inspiration for the designs that I'm doing, both the stuff that you have seen, that I have released publicly, and the stuff that I've been doing personally and for the class, for class and things along those lines. And it's always been an interest point that I've always had. So I want to do some stuff talking about lore of various universes, things like the Battletech universe, covering areas that haven't been covered too heavily, like how was the Ionosphere established in the Battletech universe. Another one would be the Crimson Skies universe. I would like to cover all of that one, because essentially at this point Crimson Skies is a dead IP, and I would really like to see it resurrected. And it has some interesting lore in the background too, for the collapse of what was the United States of America into a bunch of warring, well, in some cases warring states, but independent nation states, as it were, is an interesting thing. And the whole setup for the environment and the technology, how it got there, is actually really logical, and it's a really interesting backstory. And there's other stuff I want to cover as well. Actually, an example of the kind of stuff that I would want to do. Some of you may have heard of the YouTuber Arch Warhammer. I actually know Arch. Arch used to be a subscriber of mine. I think he probably still is. From back when I used to play War Thunder. He used to play it too, and he followed me on the channel. And we actually had a lot of talks when he was first sort of establishing and starting up his own channel doing Warhammer 40k history. And we were going to do a collab at one point that it was actually the first year that I had gone back to school, and I found myself in a situation where I just simply didn't have time to be able to get it done, which is really unfortunate. I really was interested in the concept and couldn't complete it. But basically the idea was I wasn't going to do the greater or the larger lore of the Warhammer 40k universe. There are some fantastic content creators out there that do that and do it in depth and know even more than I do about the universe in its larger scale and the greater stories within it. So I wasn't going to cover that kind of stuff and never really had any interest to in the first place, but I was very interested in the technology of the universe. So what I was going to do was a breakdown of an individual aircraft or an individual Titan or an individual piece of technology down to how it functioned and how it designed within the universe, because A lot of the stuff in the Warhammer 40k universe is actually incredibly detailed in regards to its design and its functionality and how it operates. So much so that I did do a preliminary script for this collab video looking at an Imperial fighter, essentially, an aircraft, and was able to cross-reference it against real-world contemporary aircraft that we have today and get a lot of links back and forth in terms of performance and in terms of the design and the functionality of it. The detail is actually there enough to specifically review individual pieces within the universe at high level of detail. So I wouldn't mind, the chances of doing that collab with Arch are probably long gone at this point in time, but I would probably look into doing this as part of my my lore coverage for my own channel. Now, I'm not going to stick with one universe for an extreme length of time. Like, I might do 2, 3, 4 videos a series covering a particular topic in, say, one universe, and then I might jump to another one, depending on what is interesting and what I see people like, and what I want to cover too. I mean, a big part of this, it's not just making content that you guys want to watch, as funny as this sounds, but if I'm not enjoying making it, you're probably not going to enjoy watching it, so it has to be a little bit about what I enjoy covering as well, and hopefully people come along for the ride and enjoy it as well. So that's going to be a little bit on the lore side, but that's basically what I'm doing, and there is a reason why I'm sort of doing the real life lore, the history video, and the lore for the gaming or the fictional universe at the same time as a counter to one another. Again, I think one will play off against the other quite nicely in regards to the algorithm and keep it confused enough that it's essentially not going to identify the channel as switching from a gaming channel to a history channel. I can't have that happen, because that's when the algorithm loses its mind, and you've seen over the course of 2019 what's happened to some history channels as a result of this. I think I can keep the algorithm on its toes in this regard, and it means I need one thing to play off against the other. Those are two things that I really enjoy: real life lore, history, and fictional lore from various game universes. Play one against the other. I think I can make this work. On top of that, I'm probably going to maintain a continuous RPG running through the year. So Kingdom Come Deliverance, as I said before, is in no chance of finishing. That one's going to run through, and I am going to complete that one. When it does complete, I'm probably going to pick up another RPG and continue through, and that will be just something that I maintain through the entire year, because I'm really enjoying doing that. I definitely want to do something with Cyberpunk, but I think every man and his dog's going to be doing something with Cyberpunk, so that's hardly surprising. I'm also looking at the Divinity series. Could be really interesting, particularly because of the co-op aspect for it. Getting somebody else in there to play counter could be very interesting as well, but I haven't really decided anything much past KCD at this point. I want to complete KCD. Now, the big question that I'm sure is already popping up in the comment section: does this mean you're not going to do any more IL2 DCS insert game here videos? No. What it does mean is that I'm not going to schedule them in anymore. I'm not going to force myself to make a video because I think I should be making a video. I'm going to have 2 videos per week. One will be the history video, one will be the lore video, and then, as I said, there will probably be a maintained RPG that I'm running as well, just because they're fun to make and I really find it relaxing to make them. And that will be all I have on the channel. That is guaranteed to be there every week, and I'm going to have them down to the point of you will know the exact day and the exact time of the day that each of these videos will be released. They will be scheduled in advance to the point where you will always know when they're going to drop. However, if I do find myself with free time in between spending time with the family and doing class stuff and so on, to make a DCS video, I will make a DCS video, or I will make an IL2 video. The advantage of not having them onto a schedule is because I am no longer forcing myself through to making them. I should be able to make more interesting videos there as well. I should be able to make instead of trying to rush with the creation of a mission where I don't really have enough time because I'm editing 2 videos and trying to release one while I'm trying to do a design project at the same time, and my head's in about 20 different spaces all at once. If I have a hole in time, I'll be able to sit down and be really intricate with my mission design. I'll be able to do a little bit more back research. Back when I first started making my own DCS missions for videos, I was doing a lot of research into how real-world missions were actually done, particularly for DCS missions in modern combat. I was looking a lot at the public released information on missions that were flown during the Gulf War and during the end of the Gulf War, the Vietnam, and the sort of the end of the Cold Wars. A couple of times when there were actual encounters between various aircraft, and I was looking in detail how they actually run, which is why my very early DCS videos, call them 2018, some of them were very in-depth in the structure of how the mission was set up. Recently I haven't had the time to do that. I've been essentially working off memory of stuff that I already know. I haven't been able to detailed research anything that's new or any additionally released information to create a really interesting, really realistic setup for a mission. I would like to be able to go back to that and make some really good missions again, to be able to put the briefings back in the missions again, to do them in details, potentially even release the missions as a downloadable package like I was at one point. I simply ran out of time, and I don't want to half-ass release missions that don't have briefings or don't have information in them. I want them all complete and nice and tight, and I didn't have the time to be able to complete those. So I'm hoping this whole setup means that I will be able to have the time to do those. And while it means you won't get a regular weekly pre-scheduled DCS video, although you've sort of the last couple of weeks you haven't been getting that anyway, because I simply haven't had time to do even a simple mission. I've been that run off my feet heading into the Christmas break. It means that the missions that are released on the channel, or the videos that are released on the channel, should be a hell of a lot more interesting, should be a hell of a lot more detailed, should be a hell of a lot more complex, and should be a hell of a lot more fun to watch. And that is sort of what I'm looking for going into 2020 in that regard as well. So there will still be aircraft stuff coming up. There's definitely going to be, when Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 comes out, you're going to start getting a surge of civilian content on the channel, because I really do just like flying, and that is a game where I will just be able to fly. And one of the most, I've actually been discussing this with Dead Meat for a bit, one of the things that I've really wanted to do was have some multiplayer, just civilian flying. A couple of aircraft formation, we're going to go somewhere. We've been trying to do it in X-Plane 11, but it is an absolute pain in the ass to set up multiplayer in that, unless you happen to be on the same local network, which we're not. 2020, I'm hoping we'll have that problem solved. But anyways, I'm starting to go off on a little bit of a tangent again, so it's probably time to start wrapping this one and tightening it up. Essentially, the long and short of it is, I want to make some changes to the channel. I want to spend more time doing higher detailed content, but the only way I'm going to get that done with my real life workload is to cut down on the amount of content that I'm actually releasing. There will be 2 videos scheduled. One will be historical, one will be lore-based, that will be released every week for the entire year. These will be the only 2 videos that I guarantee. I will possibly have a RPG as a third. No guarantee on that just yet, but I am definitely going to wrap up at the very least KCD. It will be completed, and we'll see where we go from there. So there may be a third one there in that, but I'm not 100% on it beyond completing Kingdom Come Deliverance at this point. And as for additional content releases on the channel, they will come, but they're not going to be scheduled. That'll be, I'm hoping really high quality IL-2 or DCS videos that are really entertaining to watch, that I hope you guys really enjoy, that will pop up whenever I have the time to make them. And that will be the best that I can actually give you on the releases for that. And the same will go with other content as well. I've got an introduction for a Silent Hunter 4 campaign set up at the moment that I was going to play, that I'm probably never going to have time to do a full playthrough of, but it's entirely possible that I may play the campaign in my free time anyway, and then essentially make almost a highlights reel of the interesting events that occurred during the campaign, possibly doing it as almost a time lapse with a date progression of my campaign in Silent Hunter, with pauses whenever something really interesting happens, like the interception of a convoy or something else. I'm not entirely sure exactly how I'll do it yet, but like, that could be something that I might do, that I might actually complete an entire series of and then release after the fact, as I have time to do it. But regardless, that's the core idea for 2020 for me, is I want a massive shift in the type of content that's actually released on the channel, because I'm not particularly happy with what I have been releasing. I want an increase in quality, but I also want an increase in time for me to be able to do other things, which means there needs to be a decrease in the overall content released on the channel. So I'm hoping the quality over quantity thing is going to win out this year. And I'm not going to lie to you guys too. I want to be perfectly upfront about this. I'm scared shitless of doing this, because I'm fully aware that this is entirely possible, that I could tank my own channel. I could completely tank this channel this year making this change. The reason why I'm doing it, however, and I want to be really upfront about this, is there is no way known I would be able to maintain what I did in 2019 in 2020. Even from a health standpoint, I would probably hospitalize myself if I don't die of a heart attack or something along those lines. I mean, I've really packed on the weight the last year, and I really need to address that. My personal life, my life with my wife, probably wouldn't survive another 2019. And quite honestly, my sanity, I'm burnt out after 7 years, 2020, of doing similar type content with a similar idea over and over and over again. I've essentially been doing this for over half a decade, because let's be perfectly honest, when I stopped doing War Thunder, the videos I was doing in IL2 and DCS were essentially a continuation of what I was doing in War Thunder, just under a different title. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something interesting. And yes, I could tank the channel doing it, but I'm also pretty sure that the channel wouldn't survive 2020 if I kept doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I'd just wind up tanking the channel myself. So, one way or another, MagzTV is either going to change and become something new over the course of 2020, or it won't exist by 2021. That's pretty much the way it's going to be. I'm hoping for the former. I would like it to just do a shift for me to really get my enjoyment back up in it again, and be really interesting and be able to continue doing it, because I do enjoy all of this. I would rather not have it tank. But if the choice is between my personal life and the channel, personal life's going to win. It's going to win this year. Yeah, so that's really it. The only other thing to add as well, and I'm sort of going to put this in, I mentioned Coppa earlier on. Coppa comes into effect the 1st of January 2020. Massive content shift on the channel is pretty much going to put me in a situation where I shouldn't be affected by Coppa at all. Another part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. But in addition to that, I will be making a couple of adjustments. I'm going to, over the course of the year, go back through my backlog of videos. They're really picky on the whole cartoony thing at the moment in regards to Coppa. It seems to be popping up continuously, cartoons and animation as a point of contention. So it's quite possibly that all the videos that contain the Mad End comics of Boomer are probably going to be pulled down. So if there's any of those that you particularly like, I'd recommend going through and doing a quick download on those. What's up, matey? Having something to eat? Okay. Sorry, my boy just come in. It's getting close to lunchtime, so I better go and do that as well. But yeah, wrapping up, if there's any of those that you particularly like, it might be an idea to download them, because they may not be available for too far into, or much further beyond sort of the end of January next year. They're probably going to get pulled down just for safety's sake. Also, I'm probably going to go back and edit a whole bunch of my backlog of thumbnails. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to have to build them from new. I really hope I don't have to. I'm hoping I'll be able to download the thumbnail, edit it, and re-upload it. Essentially, all of my videos going beyond 2020, into 2020, are going to be tagged MA15+ in the corner, and there's possibly going to be a 5-second start card at the start of any video that just says, yeah, this video is intended for mature audiences 15 years and up. Now, the reason for this is actually really straightforward. I've been watching and speaking to via correspondence and watching a lot of the breakdown from actual lawyers in regards to Coppa, and one of the interesting things that keeps popping up in this regard is that Coppa's contention in regards to the content that is actually on a channel isn't necessarily what the content is. The content can be not aimed at kids. And it's why the whole swearing in a video thing is probably not going to actually save anybody from Coppa if they decide to do something, because nobody's going to know. The excuse is that nobody's going to know when they click on the video that it's not aimed at adults. It comes down to how it's presented before you even watch it. So the actual content of a video can actually be considered as a secondary. You could earn yourself a fine based entirely on the title and the thumbnail. The title, the video description, and the thumbnail. So I figure if I put this video is intended for 15+ audiences prominently in both the video description and the comment section, as well as having an MA15+ logo on the thumbnail, and the very first, say, 3 to 5 seconds of a video is this video is intended for mature audiences 15 years and up. Remember, Coppa only is 13 years and down. It makes it really hard for anybody who tries to have a shot at my videos going forward to actually make the argument that the person who clicked on the video was unaware that the content in the video was for a mature audience when they clicked on it, because it's in the video description, it's in the title, it's in the it's on the thumbnail, and the very first couple of seconds that you're going to see at the start of the video are also going to be indicating exactly who the audience is aimed for. So that should actually also help as a defense. I'm actually considering looking at, I don't know if the feature will work. There was a feature, and I know I'm starting to ramble back on again, so I'll be fast. There was a feature built into the YouTube system that allowed you to essentially upload a intro to YouTube directly that would be automatically applied to every single video that you have ever uploaded. So you could just upload a video without an intro and it would add the video automatically as part of its rendering process. I'm going to see if that system still functions, and if it does, I'm possibly going to put the 5-second this video is intended for mature audiences thing in that prior to me actually running the video, the intro, which I will run normally inside of my own videos, so that every video that I have ever uploaded to my channel, all, over 1,000 of them at this point, will all have that MA15+ at the very start of them. And then once I have a chance, go through the quite literally over 1,000 videos and edit or create new thumbnails for all of them, putting the MA15+ in the corner, so that every single video is actually marked that way. That it should help as a defense. At the very least, the whole the person who clicked on the video, the underage person who clicked on the video, was not aware that this video was intended for mature audiences at the time they clicked, thing that keeps popping up in all the lawyer circles and the rest. That will not apply to me, because the only way that they couldn't have known is if they weren't paying attention to what they clicked, in which case it's no longer my fault. It was presented to them. So yeah, that should work as a defense as well. So I'm looking at stuff from that standpoint as well. Anyways, guys, this has dragged on long enough. I hope you've enjoyed the background footage. I know it's not particularly related to anything else, but I just wanted something relaxing. yeah, this is the end of it, the last video of 2019. The next video that you see on this channel will be released in 2020. I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. If you've watched this at the moment of release and you've watched it all the way through, it is now 11 hours and 10 minutes, give or take, from New Year's 2020 where I live. So I'm going to go and get my drink on now. Be careful over the New Year's break, guys. It's the mad season. It's been the mad season since before Christmas, but New Year's is particularly stupid. People tend to go out and do really dumb stuff. I'd rather nobody who watches this channel become a statistic, so please take care of yourselves, watch the amount you're drinking, think about what you're doing, try not to do anything too stupid, but most certainly make sure that you have a fantastic time. And I'll see you guys in the new Roaring 20s. Take care.